Hello and welcome back again to Seven Rivers Talk. I'm Bob Burrell and glad to be with all of you again as usual. We're into the second segment now of a very, very interesting show with special guest Joelene Churchill from the city of Milwaukee and Dr. Mike Uss, who is from Onalaska, both very involved in this phenomenon called AMOS here in this area. That's one of those organizations that's tied into Gamaliel, tied into the Chicago Community Activity Group that have been penetrating our churches. And they're actually they're anti-church when it comes right down to it. And as you've heard both Joelene and Mike talk about, the idea is to get all of you informed as to exactly what this organization is. But heading back to where we were, we talked about the organization AMOS, Gamaliel, and Wisdom. But who started all of this?
The history of community organizing in America can be traced back to Saul Alinsky. He is the father of community organizing, and all community organizing today, again, can be traced to Alinsky. He wrote this book called Rules for Radicals, and this is the playbook for the radical left in America. And I just would like to bring to the attention of folks that in the acknowledgement section of Alinsky's book, he writes, "Lest we forget at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical from whom all legends, mythology, and history begin, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom, Lucifer."
Lucifer, exactly.
Yes. So again, Rules for Radicals is the playbook of the left. Again, Alinsky had a special acknowledgement for Lucifer. Alinsky was an atheist, but he was also a mastermind of his day in getting the churches to fund and carry out his agenda, which was very, very radical. He studied under the mafia, Al Capone, criminology. He's just a very fascinating member of history. I think he was probably the biggest con artist America has ever known. Alinsky had a tremendous thirst for power, and that is something when you read about Alinsky, power comes up again and again and again. And he had written 13 rules for effective organizing, and there are two main groups based in Chicago carrying out Alinsky's tactics. The first one is the group that he founded in the 1940s, and that is the Industrial Areas Foundation. Then there is another Chicago-based community organizing group, and that is the Gamaliel Foundation, which is run by a former Catholic priest, and that is the organization with which your local AMOS group is connected with. If we could show the map on the screen of all of the organizations operating in Wisconsin, you can see that there's a tremendous Chicago influence on Wisconsin at this time, and it's something that your listeners and viewers should be researching further. I've spent several hundred hours researching Saul Alinsky. He is really a fascinating figure, but they are having an impact on our churches and in shaping public policy in Wisconsin and nationally.
What do you think about this, Dr. Uss? How about your experiences here in this area?
Well, what we found out was Gamaliel uses what they call St. Mary's University for training. St. Mary's University is St. Mary of the Lake Seminary in Mundelein, Illinois. It's the Catholic seminary for the Archdiocese of Chicago, and they are very close-knit with Gamaliel. And locally, well, I started last year when I found out our parish was getting involved with AMOS, find out what this was, and did all these. We had Joelene come up and gave us a great presentation in January, and we're trying to get the word out what this group is all about to try and stop it so our parishes are not taken over by this program.
Would you say that you are Catholic? Both of you are
Yes.
Catholic. Would you say that the general membership, majority membership of the Catholic churches would support this organization if they were really aware of it?
If you knew what programs they were involved in, I don't think everybody. I think you'd probably find 30%. For 30% right. Against, 30 don't care. It's the number that we generally use in dividing congregations. But they use your name or your number as a member of that parish to work in Madison and Washington as a member for their account.
Have you ever thought about the having a confrontation, a direct confrontation with any known Gamaliel or AMOS member, for example, in the church to try and bring out what is going on?
At one of our cut meetings, that's Christians United for Truth,
right?
We invited the AMOS people to come, and they came and they gave their presentation, and we asked them questions, and basically they danced around most of our questions, did not give us any straight answers on anything we asked them.
How large a group was there to see them?
They had probably about 10 people that came from their group, and we probably had about 20 or 30 from our group there.
That's right. What you're doing here, Joelene Churchill, again, who is literally a freelance trooper here, trying to bring the truth about Gamaliel and about these various foundations and groups underneath them, what is happening here to your church. And you have assembled a really fine, quite a very thick publication called Let's Take Wisconsin Back.
That's right.
From the radical left.
Correct.
And how does one access that?
Well, if folks would like to have a copy of any of our materials, they can contact me via our email address at acornfreechurches@yahoo.com. Again, it is acornfreechurches@yahoo.com. Again, I'm a Catholic, and I was very hurt and offended a few years ago when we learned that the Catholic bishops had given $7.3 million to ACORN. And just finding out that our church is funding this national movement just really strikes at my heart. It really hurts me till no end, because all of the money that we are giving to this national Chicago network could be used to promote pro-life, to be promoting sanctity of marriage issues. Promoting marriage is the #1 way of stopping poverty in America.
Anything to add to that, Dr. S., before we take our break here? I caught you right there.
I would just like to point out for your audience, there's this excellent book by David Horowitz. It's called Barack Obama's Rules for Revolution. I strongly urge you to get a copy of this to find out what these churches are doing, learn more about this national network. I think rank and file Catholics and Christians in general, if they knew about the network that's behind these groups, they would absolutely oppose it, and they would not want their money going down to Chicago. They'd want to keep that money locally, helping their local communities advance and address their own local needs.
David Horowitz, by the way, was what you'd call an extreme left liberal.
He was a communist.
At one time. He was communist, and somewhere along the way, I think he had a shocking visit from the Holy Spirit, if you will, and he turned over, and he's a very, very strong influence now in America.
Right.
Very conservative Republican.
Exactly. So maybe we should all pray for that sort of thing to be happening with these groups that are coming into our churches here. Thank you again very much, Joelene Churchill, and thank you, Dr. Russ, for being with us on this segment. We'll be back in a moment with Joelene and Dr. Russ for the third segment of this program. Looking forward to seeing you. I'm Bob Burrell.